You know that feeling, like you're being watched? Most people brush it off, right? Just nerves, bad dreams, too much coffee, whatever. I used to be most people. I really wish I still was. It started subtly, just this prickling on the back of my neck when I was trying to drift off. I'd lie there, eyes wide open in the dark, convinced someone was standing just outside my bedroom door, or maybe even closer. My heart was pounding like a drum against my ribs. I scrambled out of bed, faster than I think I've ever moved, clutching that damn button like it was radioactive. My eyes darted around the room, searching every shadow, every corner, expecting. I don't know what, a face, a figure receding into the darkness. There was nothing, of course. Just my messy bedroom, clothes draped over a chair, posters on the wall, the usual clutter. But it didn't feel usual anymore. It felt violated. The first thing I did, after checking every closet, under the bed, behind the shower curtain, finding nothing obviously, which somehow made it worse, was try to rationalize. Maybe the button came off something I owned ages ago, something I'd forgotten. Maybe it got caught in the laundry, somehow transferred to my sheets, then worked its way down beside the mattress. It sounded flimsy even to me. I'm not careless with my things, especially not clothes. And the location, right by the headboard. The armchair didn't help me sleep. Not really. Every creak of the floorboards outside my door, every distant siren, every rustle from the ancient radiator sent jolts of adrenaline through me. I lay there, rigid, staring at the ceiling, convinced I could hear breathing, faint and shallow, just on the other side of the wood. Was it my own breath echoing weirdly? Was it the building settling? Or was it HIM, the watcher? I imagined a silhouette standing there, patient, listening. The next morning, after barely managing another hour of fractured sleep, the first thing I did was check the window. Heart hammering, I crept over, peered through a gap in the blinds. The fire escape looked exactly as it always did, rusty, empty, littered with a few dead leaves and bits of city grime. No footprints in the dust, no scratches on the sill, nothing out of place. Relief washed over me, quickly followed by doubt. Was the tapping just a branch hitting the glass in the wind? The camera arrived 2 days later. Setting it up was nerve-wracking. I placed it on my bookshelf, angled to cover both the bedroom door and the window. Connecting it to the Wi-Fi, downloading the app, seeing the live feed pop up on my phone. It offered a strange mix of comfort and intensified paranoia. Now I could watch the watcher, or more likely, watch an empty room all night and drive myself even crazier. The first night with the camera active was almost worse than before. Subtle. So subtle I'd missed it completely on the first few obsessive viewings. Time-stamped at 3:17 a.m., the exact time I'd woken up convinced I heard tapping. On the recording, caught by the camera's fairly decent night vision, everything looked still. The door was closed, chair in place. The window was just a dark rectangle reflecting the faint glow from the camera's own infrared lights. But then I noticed something on the window pane itself. A slight smudge. No, not a smudge. Seeing that faint breath mark on the recording changed everything. The fragile sense of security I'd started to rebuild completely shattered. This wasn't random, it was targeted. Someone was specifically coming to MY window, MY apartment. Why? I'm nobody special. Quiet guy, keeps to himself, works from home. I don't have enemies, or at least I didn't think I did. Was it someone in the building? Someone who knew my routine? The thought made my skin crawl. A few nights passed with nothing new on the camera. No tapping, no breath marks, nothing out of the ordinary except my own crippling anxiety. I started to wonder if maybe, just maybe, seeing the camera setup had scared them off. Maybe they saw the little blinking light, realized they were being watched, and decided to move on. It was a sliver of hope, but I clung to it desperately. I even started leaving the armchair away from the door, a small act of defiance against the fear that had consumed me. How was this possible? The drawing. It wasn't done from the doorway or the window. The perspective was wrong. It was drawn from inside the room, near the foot of my bed, on a night when the camera showed absolutely nothing. No entry, no movement, just me sleeping, unless the camera hadn't recorded it because the person was already inside before I turned the camera on, or did they know how to bypass it somehow? The implications were staggering. The button, the tapping, the breath mark. The sketch broke something in me. The feeling of violation was absolute, the sense of safety completely gone. My apartment wasn't a sanctuary, it was a stage, and I was the unwilling performer for an audience of one. I couldn't stay there, not another night. I packed a bag with trembling hands, throwing in clothes, toiletries, my laptop, anything essential. I didn't know where I was going. Dave's place, a cheap motel, anywhere but here. Another folded piece of paper, sitting there innocently on the cheap, worn welcome mat. My heart leaped into my throat, choking me. How? I hadn't heard anything. No footsteps, no sound of paper sliding. They must have put it there just now. While I was packing, while I was checking the windows, while I was grabbing the bat. They were watching my every move inside the apartment. They knew I was about to leave. This wasn't random timing, it was calculated. Useless. The word echoed in the terrifying silence of the hallway. My bat felt suddenly heavy, absurd. What was I going to do? Swing wildly in the dark at shadows? They were always one step ahead, inside my head, anticipating my actions. This wasn't just stalking, it was psychological warfare. They weren't just watching, they were dissecting me, predicting me, proving their complete control. Slamming the door shut felt like admitting defeat, but staying out here in the open felt like suicide. My gaze drifted around my own apartment, seeing it with new, terrified eyes. Every shadow seemed deeper, every closet door felt menacing. Where could someone hide? Really hide? Not just for a few minutes, but potentially for hours, maybe even longer. Under the bed, checked that countless times. Closets, checked. Behind the shower curtain, checked. The space above the kitchen cabinets, too small. The attic access panel in the hallway ceiling. The attic idea wouldn't leave me alone, even though the panel looked sealed. Old buildings like this, they have quirks. Hidden spaces, walled-off rooms, weird access points from renovations decades ago. What if the panel in my hallway wasn't the only way in? What if there was another entrance? Maybe from the roof, or even from a neighboring apartment. The thought made my stomach clench. Could one of my neighbors be doing this? Accessing some shared crawlspace or attic area, and then, somehow, a patch, a repair, or an access panel plastered and painted over to blend in. My mind raced. Who would put an access panel there? Right over the bed. It made no sense for maintenance. Unless it wasn't supposed to be for maintenance. Unless someone had created it secretly. I pushed against it gently with my fingertips. It felt solid, unmoving, but the edges, running my fingers along the perimeter of the smoother patch, I could feel a very faint, almost imperceptible line. A seam. Knowing the secret didn't make me feel safer. It made me feel worse. Because now I knew they were close, right above my head. Maybe even listening now, hearing me moving the chair, shining the light, discovering their hidden entrance. The thought made my skin crawl. I jumped down from the chair, backing away, staring up at the innocuous-looking patch on the ceiling. It seemed to pulse with menace in the dim light. I couldn't stay here. Definitely couldn't sleep here. Not another second. With a final grunt of effort and a louder scrape, the panel tilted upwards and sideways, balanced precariously for a second, then slid partly open, revealing a dark, square hole leading into the space above the ceiling. A wave of stale, cold air washed down, carrying the scent of dust, decay, and something else. Something faintly metallic and unpleasant. I froze, bat still raised, every nerve ending screaming. Silence. Living above my bed. The words barely registered, the reality too monstrous to fully comprehend. This wasn't just stalking, it was infestation. Someone had turned the hidden spaces of my own home into their nest, their observation post. The sleeping bag, the trash. They'd been comfortable up there, settled in. How did they get food, water, use the bathroom? The logistics were nightmarish, but secondary to the overwhelming fact they were here, or had been very recently. I didn't bother trying to close the panel. Let the landlord deal with it. Let the police deal with it if I ever worked up the nerve to call them, though the thought still felt futile. My only priority was escape. I grabbed my duffel bag, keys, wallet, phone, and the useless baseball bat, more for a grim sense of irony than protection now, and bolted out of the apartment. Didn't look back. Didn't check the peephole. Just ran. Okay, so you know how sometimes you wake up in the middle of the night and you just know something's wrong. Not like a bad dream feeling, but deeper. Like your bones know it before your brain does. That happened to me last Tuesday. It's been playing on repeat in my head ever since, like a scratched record of pure fear. My apartment, right? It's on the 10th floor. 10th. There's no balcony outside my bedroom, no fire escape nearby, just sheer brick wall dropping straight down to the alley. Remember that. It wasn't just a shape or a shadow or my tired brain playing tricks. It was undeniably a person, a girl, maybe late teens, early 20s, hard to tell exactly. Her features were partially obscured by the gloom and the angle, but I could make out pale skin, long dark hair plastered against the glass like seaweed. And her eyes, oh God, her eyes. They were wide open, staring right at me. No blinking, no movement, just this fixed, hollow gaze. I must have blacked out from sheer terror, or maybe just squeezed my eyes shut so hard I passed out for a second. Because the next thing I knew, I jolted awake again, gasping for air like I'd surfaced from underwater. My heart was hammering, sweat slicked my forehead, and the first thing I did, the absolute first thing, was whip my head towards the window. She was gone. The next morning, sunlight streaming in felt like a blessing, burning away the shadows and the lingering remnants of the night terror, or what I desperately hoped was a night terror. I made coffee, extra strong, trying to shake off the exhaustion and the unease. I kept glancing at the bedroom window, half expecting to see, I don't know what, a smudge, a handprint, anything to prove it wasn't real, but there was nothing, just clear glass reflecting the morning sky. That night I barely slept. I triple-checked the window lock, even though I knew it was pointless against whatever that was. I wedged a chair under the doorknob of my bedroom door, a completely irrational action given the window incident, but it made me feel marginally safer, like I was doing something. Every creak of the floorboards, every gust of wind rattling the blinds, sent a jolt of adrenaline through me. I kept staring at the window, my eyes aching in the darkness, waiting. The next few days were a blur of caffeine, anxiety, and sleep deprivation. I tried to maintain my routine work, groceries, pretending everything was normal. But the fear was a constant hum beneath the surface. Every time I walked down the street, I found myself scanning faces in the crowd, looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see her. I started taking different routes home from work, avoiding walking directly past the front of my building if I could help it. It was Friday night, about a week after the first sighting. I decided I needed a distraction, something to force my mind onto a different track. I invited my friend Mark over for pizza and video games, hoping some normalcy would help ground me. Mark's a very logical, down-to-earth guy. I figured being around him would dispel some of the lingering paranoia. We were in the living room, pizza boxes open on the coffee table, controllers in hand, shouting at the TV screen. "What is it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. I reached the window and peered over Mark's shoulder through the gap in the curtains, my breath hitched. Down below, across the street, standing directly under the exact same flickering streetlight from my dream, was the girl. Pale face tilted up, long dark hair hanging limp, staring straight at my living room window. At us. She wasn't pointing this time, she was just watching, motionless, like a statue carved from moonlight and shadow. Who the hell is that? Mark, bless his rational heart, tried to find explanations. Maybe she lives nearby, maybe she's waiting for someone, maybe she just spaces out a lot. But even he couldn't explain away the 10th floor window incident. That part clearly spooked him. "Are you sure about that, man? 10th floor, outside?" I just nodded, feeling numb. "Positive, there's no way up there." We both looked back out the window. She was still there, unmoving, unblinking, just staring. Mark didn't stay much longer after that. The mood was ruined, and frankly, I think he was freaked out and wanted to leave, though he tried not to show it too much. He made me promise to keep my doors locked and call him if anything else happened. As I locked the door behind him, the heavy deadbolt sliding into place felt pathetically inadequate. What good was a lock against someone who could apparently stand outside a 10th floor window? The apartment felt huge and terrifyingly empty now. Nothing happened for 2 days. 2 days of agonizing quiet, of me jumping at every creak, second-guessing every shadow. I started to wonder if maybe seeing her with Mark, having someone else witness it, had somehow scared her off. Wishful thinking, I know. By Sunday night, a sliver of hope had actually started to grow. Maybe it was over. Maybe she'd moved on. "Did you call the police?" I asked Mark, my voice trembling. Yeah, I did," he stammered. "They said they'd send a patrol car to check it out, but you know how long that can take. Man, I'm freaking out. She's just standing there. What do I do? I felt helpless, miles away, unable to do anything. Just stay away from the window, Mark. Lock your doors. Don't engage. Don't let her see you're scared. Easy for me to say, I know. He was living my nightmare now. How did she find me? The police predictably found nothing at Mark's place. They took his statement, probably filed it under possible prank or nervous resident, and left. Mark called me back, sounding defeated and scared. They didn't believe me, man, not really. They think I imagined it or someone was messing with me. He was convinced she'd be back, and honestly, so was I. This felt targeted now, deliberate. The next morning, I felt like a zombie, running on pure adrenaline and caffeine fumes. I had to do something. Hiding and waiting wasn't working. It was just letting her control the situation. I decided to take a more active approach, maybe find some clue, any clue, about who she was or what she wanted. My first thought was security cameras. My building was old, but there were a couple of cameras covering the lobby entrance and the alleyway out back. We scrubbed through the footage from Tuesday night. Lobby camera, nothing unusual, just the empty, dimly lit lobby. Alley camera, nothing but shadows and overflowing dumpsters. We checked the timestamps around when I thought I saw her, extending the window just in case. Still nothing. Not a flicker of movement near the base of my side of the building. It confirmed what I already knew. She hadn't climbed up from the ground, nor had she likely come through the lobby or the alley around that specific time. Which floor did she go to? I asked urgently, my voice tight. Henderson fiddled with the controls, trying to see if the elevator camera was working or if the panel indicated a floor, but the angle was bad and the footage was too grainy. Can't tell, he grumbled. Could be any floor. But I knew, or at least I had a sickening feeling I knew. She came inside, went up, and then... What? Did she get off on my floor? Did she try my door? The thought made me feel physically ill. I went back upstairs to my apartment, my mind racing. The knowledge that she had been inside the building, potentially on my floor, was a new level of violation. My home didn't feel safe anymore. It felt like a cage I was trapped in with something terrifyingly unknown. Every floorboard creak, every neighbor's distant door closing sounded like her approaching. I immediately checked my door. The lock seemed untouched, no scratches, no marks, but that offered little comfort. Hours passed. Nothing, just the silence pressing in. Maybe the barricade worked. Maybe she couldn't get in, or maybe she wasn't even trying tonight. Maybe she was just waiting, letting the fear cook. Around 4 a.m., exhaustion finally started winning. My eyelids felt like lead weights. My thoughts grew fuzzy. I must have drifted off for a few seconds, maybe a minute, because I was suddenly jolted awake by a sound. Not a loud sound, a soft sound. A faint, rhythmic scratching. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I don't know how long the scratching lasted. Minutes, an hour, time seemed to warp. I stayed frozen, huddled on the bed, listening, too terrified to move, too terrified to look properly. Every instinct screamed at me to hide, to disappear. Eventually, the scratching sound just faded away, stopped as abruptly as it started. Silence flooded the room again, but it wasn't a relief. It was the silence of uncertainty. Was she gone, or just waiting again? An inside handprint. It wasn't possible. The window hadn't been opened. The barricaded door hadn't been breached. I hadn't imagined the scratching. She was there, but the handprint, the hair, they weren't from the outside. They were from the inside. She hadn't just been at my window last night. She had been in my room while I was huddled on the bed, listening to her scratch at the glass. She was already here with me. How did she get in? How did she leave? Or did she leave? You ever hear a storm start inside your house? Not the rain hitting the roof, I mean. The actual rumble. Like thunder, but it's coming from the attic, maybe the walls. That's how it began for me last Tuesday. I was sitting right here on this couch trying to watch some dumb late-night show, and suddenly, boom, a low, rolling thunderclap that vibrated the floorboards under my feet. I almost jumped out of my skin. My first thought, obviously, was, wow, that came out of nowhere. So I'm sitting there frozen, right, just listening, and the sounds keep coming. Not like a real storm, which has a rhythm, a build-up, peaks and lulls. This was inconsistent, a sudden sharp crackle like close lightning but without the flash. Then silence for maybe 30 seconds. Then that low, guttural rumble again, seeming to shift location, maybe closer to the bedroom wall now. Then a persistent, whispery static like heavy rain on asphalt but muffled, distorted. Okay, adrenaline kicks in, right? Fight or flight. My instinct was flight, honestly, get the hell out of the house. But where would I go? And what if they were waiting outside? Or what if leaving was exactly what they wanted? My mind was racing, trying to piece together something, anything that made sense. I slowly, carefully pushed myself off the couch. My legs felt like lead. Every tiny creak of the floorboards under my feet sounded like a gunshot in the relative silence between the fake storm bursts. I made it to the kitchen. The linoleum floor felt unnaturally cold beneath my bare feet. The storm sounds were slightly muffled here, but still present, a constant, unnerving backdrop. I fumbled for the light switch, hesitated for a second, with turning it on alert whoever or whatever was making the noise. But screw it, I couldn't operate in the dark. I flicked the switch. The harsh fluorescent light hummed to life, bathing the small kitchen in a sterile white glare. The mud print, that changed everything. It wasn't just weird sounds anymore. It wasn't faulty house noises or my imagination running wild. Someone had been here. The locked door didn't make sense unless they had a key, or they found another way in, the attic, a loose basement window I forgot about. My mind scrambled for possibilities, each one more terrifying than the last. Who would want to get into my house? And why the elaborate charade with the storm sounds? Screw the front door. The back door was right here. Locked, yes, but maybe faster. I lunged for it, my hands fumbling with the deadbolt. It scraped loudly as I twisted it. Then the doorknob, it turned. Freedom was inches away, just open the door and bolt. But as my hand closed around the cold metal, another sound cut through the artificial storm. A soft click. It didn't come from the storm recording. It didn't come from the door I was trying to open. It came from behind me. Trapped? The word echoed in my head, bouncing off the fake thunderclaps. My kitchen, usually a place of comfort, suddenly felt like a cage. The bright fluorescent light seemed harsh and exposing, making me feel like a bug under a microscope. Every shadow seemed to writhe with potential menace. I backed away from the door again, pressing myself against the cool metal of the refrigerator, its hum a tiny island of normality in the sea of wrongness. My eyes were glued to the doorway leading back into the house. Right new plan, or maybe just a desperate gamble. Forget the doors for now. If they were trying to manipulate my movements, maybe the best thing was to do the unexpected. The sounds the fake storm seemed strongest upstairs near the attic. That mud print suggested entry, but not necessarily where they were now. What if they were hiding up there, waiting? The attic hatch was in the hallway ceiling, right outside my bedroom. Standing directly under the attic hatch, I switched off the maglite, plunged into almost total darkness, broken only by the faintest ambient light filtering from the living room. My eyes struggled to adjust. Above me, the fake storm raged. It was undeniable now, the source was up there. The rumble seemed to vibrate the drywall inches from my face. The hissing sounded like sand pouring onto the ceiling panels, and beneath it all, I held my breath, straining to hear. Yes, there it was again. I backed away from the hatch slowly, keeping the maglite beam trained on it as if expecting it to burst open any second. My mind was a whirlwind of fear and frantic calculation. Okay, they're in the attic. They're making noise, both the fake storm and real movement sounds. They probably entered through the roof or an attic vent, explaining the lack of forced entry downstairs except for that misplaced mud. What now? Confrontation seemed insane. Calling the police? Yes, definitely. That wire, it was like a physical manifestation of the violation I felt. They hadn't just broken in, they had integrated themselves into the fabric of my home, running wires, hiding things. This wasn't random. This was planned, meticulous, terrifying. My gaze followed the wire's path back towards my bedroom door, closed. I always leave it slightly ajar when I'm home alone, just a habit, but now it was firmly shut. Had they closed it after running the wire, or was someone inside? Taking another shaky breath, I turned the bathroom doorknob. Slowly, silently, it clicked open. I pushed the door inward just a crack, peering into the darkness within. Nothing immediately jumped out. No lurking figures, just the familiar shapes of the toilet, the sink, the shower curtain. I pushed the door open wider, shining the maglite beam inside, sweeping it methodically across every inch of the small room. Behind the shower curtain, nothing but tiles and a damp smell. Under the sink, cleaning supplies. Okay, the window was a no-go. Stuck fast. Stepping down off the wobbly hamper, I felt a wave of despair wash over me. Locked in the bathroom, Stalker potentially roaming the house, attic active right above. Mysterious wire running under my bedroom door. It was a nightmare scenario. I sank down onto the closed toilet lid, burying my face in my hands, trying to think, trying not to completely lose it. My heart started pounding again, a sickening rhythm against my ribs. That screw. It was small, easily missed, but now that I saw it, it screamed wrong. Why would one screw be different, unless someone had taken the grate off? Recently, I stood up slowly, dragging the hamper back under the vent. Climbing onto it again, much more carefully this time, I reached up towards the grate, the mag light held in my teeth, freeing both hands. My fingers brushed against the cool metal. I touched the suspect's screw head. Piece of paper. What the hell? My mind raced. A note. A warning. A clue. This was getting weirder and weirder. My fingers trembled as I reached into the dusty gap, pinching the edge of the crumpled paper between my thumb and forefinger. It felt rough, slightly damp. I pulled it out carefully, the metal edge of the grate scraping against my knuckles. Jumping down off the hamper, I held the small, folded square of paper in my palm, staring at it under the flashlight beam as if it were a venomous snake. I felt sick, genuinely physically sick. I stumbled back against the sink, the photograph clutched in my fist, crinkling it further. Bile rose in my throat, sleeping. They took a picture of me sleeping, the intimacy of it, the sheer audacity. It was staggering. This wasn't just stalking, this was obsession. This was someone who felt entitled to my private moments, my unguarded self. Panic-fueled action. No more hiding, no more strategy. Survival instinct took over completely. I threw the crumpled photo onto the floor. I didn't want to touch it anymore. I grabbed the maglite, unlocked the bathroom door with trembling fingers, and yanked it open. The hallway stretched before me, dark and menacing. The fake storm sounds crashed around me, louder than ever now, seemingly amplified. Rumble, hiss, crack. It felt like the house itself was screaming. I didn't hesitate. Every nerve ending screamed. They were right there, just yards away, hidden in the shadows of the hallway mouth, masked by the noise. The floorboard creaked again, closer this time. My breath hitched. I couldn't move, couldn't think. My eyes strained against the darkness, trying to pick out a shape, a silhouette against the deeper black of the hallway. Nothing, just impenetrable gloom. The fake storm swelled, a deafening clap of artificial thunder shaking the very foundations of the house. Was it timed? Above the front door. How could they be behind me and above me, unless there were more than one? The thought hit me like a physical blow, staggering me. This wasn't one stalker, this was coordinated, plural. They had me boxed in. The creaking from the hallway stopped. Silence except for the relentless, mocking storm sounds. Rumble, hiss. Were they communicating, using the sound somehow? I was trapped between whatever was in the hallway and whatever had just landed above the exit. The speaker, proof. Cold, hard, electronic proof. The storm wasn't real, it was a lie, a carefully constructed illusion, and the people behind it. They were here, all around me, above me, behind me. The scraping sound above the entryway stopped, replaced by a new sound, breathing. Heavy, labored breathing filtering down from the opening they must have made. Not fake, this was real, close, and then the storm sounds cut out, abruptly.